So, Monica, what are some of the top reasons you're seeing successful marketers leaving their companies nowadays, and what does that mean to your ever-changing role? Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Ferris, and I am the Director of Demand Generation for DemandScience, and welcome to our webinar today. Monica is a marketing leader with extensive experience building and leading teams and creating capabilities to achieve objectives in high-growth, dynamic organizations. She has held senior leadership positions in marketing with companies such as Gannett, Constant Contact, D50 Media, Caesars Entertainment, and Digitas. Today, Monica is responsible for branding and marketing across the DemandScience family of brands and further accelerating companies' success. So we will be talking about some critical areas that keep Monica and many CMOs up at night, including managing people and remote or hybrid work environments, leading effective campaigns, especially in the middle of so much distraction, and making quality global data work for you. We recently conducted a survey, and it's revealed a number of interesting insights around the changing landscape of the workforce, including the rise and acceptance of hybrid or remote workforces, as well as nearly 3/4 of respondents see filling roles with the right people as a major challenge. So, Monica, what are some of the top reasons you're seeing successful marketers leaving their companies nowadays, and what does that mean to your ever-changing role?
Thanks, Alana, and welcome everyone to the call. I'm happy to be here and talk about these important issues that we're all facing. So, we have all seen, of course, the challenge with hiring, and in some ways it comes back to fundamentals. So even pre-pandemic, people need to be making sure, certainly at the marketing leadership level and across the organization, that they're communicating. And there's been so much change for all of us in the last 18 months. It's even more important as people understand that they're changing directions in the organization, that they see their place. They understand their value. They understand their voice. And even though they may not be able to make every decision, they certainly have a voice. And making sure people feel that way in the pandemic is certainly more of a challenge. It's always the case as well in organizations that people need to understand that they have a career path and what it is. If an organization is younger at this, it may mean that there's conversations that have to happen on a one-by-one basis, but certainly companies need to get there and to calibrate across their teams and to understand where people can grow and make that possible. But also people need to make sure they take responsibility for their own careers, and that leaders encourage that and make sure people know that they own their own careers. Ultimately, recognition is so important to people, and it's a little bit harder today when you're talking about living on video calls, certainly for the last many months. But there are tools out there, and we use one called Motivosity that allow you to, or in an easy way, recognize people up and down and across the organization. And it's not just for great work, but for birthdays and anniversary celebrations and anything else that can create a personal connection. So those things, have been somewhat new in the last couple of years, certainly to our organization, and help with the things that maybe the life of video chats isn't delivering for us. But certainly recognition is critical. You also have to make sure at every organization, not including the pandemic, but every day, that decisions are not just made at the top, but that everyone feels that they have the ability to make decisions to make sure that there's greater velocity, that people can take responsibility and accountability for what needs to happen. But obviously the right processes so that senior leaders can be part of the decision-making process and weigh in, and not just at the end, because certainly we don't want to be reworking things, but finding the right way to make sure that there's ownership in the right ways that help people move faster and help people feel like they have ownership. And that's, always the same in every organization. What's been missing clearly is the chance to go ice skating together, the chance to have a paint party, similar to the painting bars that we see popping up over the last 5 years or so. The ability to make gingerbread houses, to karaoke together, to break bread. All of those opportunities for us to build relationships have become harder. They just are with Zoom. I have a colleague now, and this just became more clear to me last May when I had been talking to him a lot on Zoom. But when I met him in person, his personality is explosive. It's wonderful. And he's so full of life, and it just doesn't come across in Zoom. So that was the moment I realized, for me anyway, that we were missing nuances of people's personalities, who they really are and what they bring to the table with just a Zoom environment to live in or a video environment to live in. And that's just something that, we have to work hard to overcome, but it's just the reality of it not being a perfect world that we're living in until we can get to be together more often. There's also something really important about the flyby. So our CEO, Pete Cannoni at DemandScience, is amazing at the flyby. He connects with people in the hallways. He knows who they are. He knows their name. He knows what they're working on. And he shows them that they are valued. But he also provides a quick snapshot of what's in his head. He shares his passion for sports, in New England sports in particular, and golf. And those personal connections, when you're on Zoom all day long, instead of in an office where you can have that flyby with a CEO or a senior leader, are not happening today. And those, I feel like, are really part of the Great Resignation, that people have lost those real personal connections. The other thing that some cultures have that really can be a problem, and it's in a video and a fully remote environment, is the lack of ability to connect with a leader in the kitchen, an open door to say hello, and also provide, hey, here's something I've been thinking about. And when that doesn't happen, it becomes, in some ways, I think, really limiting, because there may not be a culture where it's welcomed, or for someone to be able to just schedule a meeting with the CEO, particularly if you're 2-3 levels below. And that's a real hard thing to make happen in a fully remote environment, because they don't have that chance to connect. And some of that might happen in a town hall normally, when everyone can get together. And so when you miss those chances to get to know people and to have a more casual conversation with leaders, it can really limit the organization. And I think it's a problem that we've all, faced. And you can do that. We found ways to do that at our company with skip level conversations, chances to chat with leaders and learn more about each other on those calls. Still really not the same.
I'm sure you'd agree that Zoom fatigue is real.
It is real. And it's the funniest thing, and to a person, everyone I've spoken to about this, is that most of us who've had any kind of commute, we're now saving, call it an hour and a half a day, but we're not necessarily replacing it with outside activities, exercise, healthy actions. Some of us are starting our day a little bit earlier in our pajamas, and working through later hours of the day. We're not getting up and walking around. We're stuck to our computer screen instead of maybe, walking around with our phone and dialing in other ways at times, and being able to take a health break. So it is a factor. And you often find that you're in a call after call after call environment, which is just tough. And, for all the other reasons I've said, it's just a challenge. Organizations know today, most organizations realize they need to provide more of a hybrid opportunity. And the other thing that we can now have, which is amazing with a hybrid world and workforce, is that we don't have to be stuck with hiring people within a 30 to 50 mile radius from an office. We now truly have the opportunity to create a diverse global workforce. We have people in Austin, in New Jersey, like Alana, the Boston area, of course, the Philippines, the UK, and Ireland. And we have found ways to adapt and expand our work days in many ways. Our Philippines team works a different schedule from 11 to 11 to make sure that there's crossover. We've all learned to be global. And there's huge opportunity with that to get diverse ideas, to be able to leverage talent from everywhere. And it gives us a chance to be able to do more and be efficient. And we found ways to be efficient. We've all organizations have found ways to be efficient in this way of working. But I do know that it also creates challenges for us to all get together, because we can't all necessarily travel to be in one place. There may not be the travel budgets planned for getting everyone together as often as we might like. So we're still working through that and finding ways to make it happen. But there are absolutely pros and cons. And the global workforce opportunity for people is a big one. And I think that that's something that we should be happy about instead of, the reverse. It's just making it, make sure that we do an even better job of of getting connected to people.